on the next all-new Rick and Morty.
Rick Sanchez, you son of a bitch! Need some people for a thing, Glar. Suppose I had a job that didn't care if you've done time or whatever's going on with your confusing ass hands.
I'm in.
Hey, Truckula!
You son of a bitch! I'm in!
Thanks for doing this, guys.
What's the job?
That was it. Bye.
The toilet episode is just an exploration of Rick's isolation, starting with something a lot of people can relate to, which is being a shy pooper.
He has a secret pooping place.
Man, you, Summer.
And then somebody had the idea that what if he goes there and somebody else is in there? And we were off to the races.
Poop with me, Tony. Poop with me.
The thing that I love is showing how lonely Rick is, and then his rejection of friendship from someone who really is like a good person.
You're not gonna kill me?
Don't tell me what to do!
You know, Rick starts out thinking that Tony's just another individual he's gonna have to kill or bully to get what he wants, and he's surprised by Tony's fearlessness.
What the?
It turns into a story about Rick's capacity for friendship.
I have a million cooler friends than you.
I'll be seeing you.
I think also just the shock of this person dying. It just kind of, I think it further cements Rick as this lonely person who's never gonna get close to anybody. You know, it's like, why bother?
There he is! There's our guy! Long live the big bad doo-doo daddy!
Catch a new episode Sunday at 11:30. Only on Adult Swim.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my Rick and Morty Season 4 Episode 3 trailer video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs. I'm doing videos for all the episodes this season. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get everything. We're even doing a weekly merch giveaway. So the episode is titled One Crew Over the Crewcoo's Morty, obviously a reference to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and the Ocean's 11 montage of Rick putting together a team for what initially seems like a heist he might want to pull off in this space casino with a giant bake vault behind them. The official episode descriptions that they released a while ago are pretty terrible. It just reads, "A lot of twists and turns this time, bro. Wear your helmets." Most of the characters he assembles for his team are parodies of Ocean's 11 characters or science fiction movie characters. Like this one he goes to pick up at the club is a parody of the Livingston character from Ocean's 12 after that first Ocean's 11 movie. They successfully robbed the casinos in the first movie, but instead of spending all of his money when they picked up in the second movie, he was failing badly at trying to be a stand-up comedian in tiny bars and living with his mother, not spending any of the millions that they had stolen. The second one is a parody of Alita Battle Angel with all the crazy cyborg parts that separate into a billion different pieces. I'm assuming Rick is supposed to be the George Clooney character in this version of Ocean's 11. The Truckula joke is a combination of a couple different bits and references to previous episodes of Rick and Morty. On the surface, it's a reference to Scott Conn and Casey Affleck's characters from Ocean's 11 who are running a car racing track when George Clooney's character found them. It's also Ryan Ridley doing the voice of a driver, and he's kind of doing a vampire Dracula bit, as if his name is Truckula because he has this vampire-looking truck, but he's also a real vampire, which seems like a violation of the Tiny Rick post-credit scene, where the head vampire was really upset because the PE teacher that was secretly a vampire at Summer and Morty's school was using a vampire bit name. No more bits, just use a regular name next time. And the person voicing that vampire was also Ryan Ridley.
No more of this clever name bullshit. When a vampire is pretending to be a human, they can just call themselves Alan Jefferson or something like that.
They do all these weird scene transitions like they did in Ocean's 11. Morty has his backpack with him. Then after Rick assembles his crew, they show up inside this space casino-looking building, all wearing special name tags, but the print is too small and blurry to read what it actually says. But they're waiting for Rick's orders like they're building to some epic Ocean's 11 heist. And when they ask what the actual job is, Rick just completely throws the bit away, saying, "That was it." And then just walks away like this is supposed to be a cold open joke that's not really connected to the actual plot of the episode. Like Rick Lantis mix-up when they totally mislead you in the opening scene about what the episode's story actually is, and then they follow the citadel of Rick's. Or this is a long bit from later in the episode and Rick just needs this crew for show. They do that every once in a while on Rick and Morty. Super elaborate misdirects and throwaway gags that go nowhere. Like some of the bits from Interdimensional Cable, that's just the writers riffing on jokes that don't really have anything to do with something the Rick and Morty are trying to achieve or steal during an episode. Or the Roy game from Blitz and Chips. You spend all this time in the simulation doing a complete arc on Roy's life, and then when they rip the helmet off, Morty is so confused he still isn't quite sure if he's Roy or if he's Morty and he was just playing a VR game. The way they animated it and told that story made it seem like it was a real arc that was playing out and he was a real person. You also might recognize a bunch of trailer scenes from the Season 4 trailer with them at a heist convention. There was the Doctor Strange joke with his intelligent lab coat strangling this guy. There were the scenes of them stealing this spaceship from the aliens who themselves are stealing bits of this building here. So because of the Ocean's 11 themed title and sequence here, the whole episode might just be parodies of heist movie tropes, with Rick just wanting some small thing that winds up not being that big a deal at the end of the day. Like when they sent Morty and Aberdolf Linkler on that epic mission to get those crystals, making it seem like they were critical for some life-saving adventure, which we then found out were just for partying so that he could crush up and snort them and do his little dance. But they did this whole long misdirect bit about this relationship between Aberdolf Linkler, his death, and this huge moment in trying to atone for something with Rick. Turns out, nope, complete misdirect. Speaking of which, I know Aberdolf Linkler is still alive at the end of that episode, people wondering if he'd ever come back. He was such a weird character, I'm not expecting to see him again though. Then they talk all about Rick isolating himself in last week's episode. I totally buy all the things they say about that, and Justin talking about how lonely he is. They've done that a couple times before, like at the end of the Unity episode, where he almost successfully ended all the versions of himself across the multiverse completely. If you never listened to the commentary on that episode, they actually say that what he's doing here, this special fluid, was supposed to sync all the different versions of himself across the multiverse, so that when this laser device would have destroyed our C-137 Rick right here, it would have also killed every other single Rick in all of existence, but he's so wasted, the joke is that he passes out and the beam misses his head. The WTF moment there was that he actually tried to do it. They also kind of follow up on that again, the idea of Rick being super lonely at the end of Season 2 when he realizes he has to turn himself in, this grim, if not temporary, acceptance of his fate. It didn't stick because right after this, you have the events of Season 3, Episode 1, where he escapes galactic prison. So even though they do have downer endings sometimes, they're usually really quick to take that stuff back. But I do think it's funny when Justin talks about how quick Rick is to reject the idea of true friendship, despite the fact that he's so lonely. The difference with Season 4, Episode 2 is that they leave on a downer ending instead of taking it right back with some sort of post-credit scene, more like the end of Episode 1, with Rick and Morty being all optimistic and excited for their future adventures. There were also a lot of you that asked about Rick's wife on my Episode 2 video, asking if I thought that this woman next to Tony in the red fluid sacks was Rick's wife, C-137 Rick's wife. And there are a couple reasons why I don't think that it's her. Number one, the woman does have blonde hair like Rick's wife, but if you look at her eyes, she's got little bugged out alien eyes, meaning that she's probably not human. And as cool as it would be to think that Beth was secretly part alien, I don't think that Rick's wife was an alien. Two, I don't think that Dan and Justin would be so quick to reveal Rick's wife after spending so many seasons saying that they never really cared to explain what happened about her. No joke, when you go back and you listen to people asking them questions about her in previous seasons, typically their answer is, we don't know, or we haven't talked about what happened to Rick's wife or where she might be if she's alive, because we don't think that answering that question is interesting. So the writers, including Dan and Justin, just clearly have no interest in explaining what really did happen to her. And if they ever did tease his wife again, it would probably be some other fake-out reference that wouldn't require them to commit to a story. Like, they wouldn't want to nail themselves into a corner on what really happened to her. Like during Season 3, Episode 1 in that flashback, they tell you this big elaborate story that seems real, but the twist is that Rick maybe made the whole thing up. Justin has said in the past, and I think he says it on the commentary, that there's always elements of truth in every lie, so aspects of this backstory might have really happened. And probably the biggest reason why I don't think this is Rick's wife is because they just got a 70-episode order a while ago. I don't think they would tip their hand on something as big as Rick's wife right away at the beginning of that. If they ever did decide they wanted to show her again, maybe it would be after a couple years when they run out of other really interesting ideas. But let me know in the comments, what do you actually think happened to Rick's wife? Is she dead, or is she just out there somewhere in the multiverse? And if you spotted any Easter eggs in these trailers that I didn't mention in the video, just write them below in the comments. I will do another Rick and Morty bonus video later this week. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming up. Everyone, click here for my Rick and Morty Season 4 Episode 2 video, and click here for my Rick and Morty Season 4 Episode 1 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.